Donald Trump has ordered Greg Abbott and compliant Texas Republicans to race back to Austin, have a special session in order to rig the congressional map and undermine the ability of Texans to have a free and fair midterm election. That is wrong. You deserve better. The people of Texas deserve better. That's why I'm so thankful for the leadership of the members of the Texas congressional delegation and the Texas state legislature, who aren't fighting for themselves, unlike the other side of the aisle. They're fighting for a government that actually responds to the people of Texas in a way that is designed to solve real life, everyday challenges. The people of Texas deserve better.
Boy. So we got to talk about the Democrats in full-blown panic mode over the Republican plan to quote-unquote rig the 2026 midterm elections. Yes, Democrats are already throwing in the white flag. They're admitting defeat by claiming that the election is rigged because Republicans are deciding to do what Democrats have done in blue states for a long time now, which is to redistrict, okay? In the case of Democrats, they like to gerrymander their states. Don't ever let them gaslight you into pretending that they don't. Like, for example, how do you explain the fact that California, 40% of the statewide vote is Republican, but 17% of the seats are Republican? That doesn't make sense. And Massachusetts, 35% Republican, 0 seats Republican. How does that happen? In Connecticut, 38% of the statewide vote is Republican, but 0 seats belong to Republicans. Doesn't seem right to me. In New York, 42% of the statewide vote is Republican, but yet only 26.9% of the seats are Republican, right? So again, it just doesn't really sound correct, right? It doesn't sound like this is possible without, Democrats rigging their elections, right? Rigging their maps, gerrymandering their maps in their favor, right? But they want to boo-hoo and cry about getting a taste of their own medicine, okay? Because as you can see here, Republicans have proposed a new map, and the new map is going to eliminate 5 Democrat seats. Again, as you can see, this is the old map, this is the new map, and of course, Democrats are pulling out the same old tricks that they usually pull out when they don't have a good argument against something. They say, well, it's racist, right? We don't like it because it is racist, because the old map was racist, right? And this new map also is racist as well, too. And just all of this is racist no matter what Republicans do. It's just racist because Democrats don't agree with it. Take a look.
Reads, if the state of Texas fails to rectify the racial gerrymandering of Texas 9, Texas 18, Texas 29, and Texas 33, the Attorney General reserves the right to seek legal action against the state, including without limitation under the 14th Amendment. So race has been infused into this letter. It is sent to the Honorable Greg Abbott, that's the governor of the state of Texas, and the Honorable Ken Paxton. Dear friends, at the end of the day, if they can fulfill what they proclaim in this letter, there will be more white representation in Congress from Texas and less black and Latino representation. This is nothing more than an attempt to silence many of the voices that are emanating from communities of color in the state of Texas. It is racist. Now, there in this country seems to be a problem with people saying racist. It's okay to say anti-Semitism, but don't say racism. Racism has not received the same amount of acclaim when it comes to dealing with racist issues that anti-Semitism has received when it comes to dealing with things that are anti-Semitic. Well, I'm not afraid. I'm going to speak truth to power and about power. And here is the truth. Under this president, Republicanism is eroding and devolving into racism.
Yeah, so what else is new? Okay, Democrats boo-hoo, whine, and cry on racism because Republicans are doing things that Democrats don't like them doing, even though Democrats do those things themselves, right? And is never racism when Democrats do it, but when Republicans do it, now all of a sudden it's racist, right? What else is new, right? This is par for the course for Democrats. But again, the real reason why they're panicking is not because this is quote unquote racist. It's because the voters in Texas with this new map likely are going to vote Republican, right? If they vote in the same pattern that they did for the 2024 election, it's not going to be good for Democrats, okay? Republicans are going to pick up more seats, and that is going to devastate Democrats because if they don't win these midterms, right? They lose these midterms, I think it's over. I think that is the final nail in the Democrat Party coffin. They will be losing for over a decade if they can't win these midterms, right? I'm just saying, this is do or die for Democrats, okay? So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into this.
Republicans are proposing a new map for congressional districts. Very rare mid-decade. Normally, reapportionment happens at the beginning of a decade. They're doing it a second time now. Why? They want to win seats for Republicans to try to maintain control of the House of Representatives. So what does this all mean? How much would that take? CNN chief data analyst Harry Enton is here. So let's talk about these change lines that the Republicans in Texas are pushing for. What difference would it make?
Yeah, it could make a huge difference. This, in fact, could win or maintain control for the Republicans in the House of Representatives. What are you talking about? Well, Texas has 38 congressional districts. Look at those that Trump won last year by at least 10 percentage points. Under the current lines, it's 25. Under the proposed lines, it's 30. That's 5 potential pickup opportunities for the Republican Party. They are playing hardball at this particular point. And right now, it seems to me that Democrats are actually playing close to the Little League Pee-wee.
So 5 seats. What would 5 seats in Texas do for Republicans in Congress overall?
You might think 5 seats is just 5 seats, but keep in mind this. Margin to spare for the House majority. In 2020, the Democrats had 4 seats. 2022, Republicans had 4 seats. This time around, 2 seats for Republicans out of the 2024 elections. 5 seats can make all the difference in the world, and that is why Republicans in Texas providing 5 pickup seat opportunities could, in fact, make the difference between Republicans losing control of the House of Representatives and maintaining control of the House of Representatives.
And some voting shifts within Texas might be adding fuel to this.
Exactly right. They wouldn't necessarily be able to do this if, in fact, Republicans, Donald Trump did not do so much better among Latino voters last time around than he did in 2020, because 4 of the pickup opportunities are majority Hispanic seats. In 2024, get this, Donald Trump actually won Latino voters by 10 points in Texas. In 2020, it was Joe Biden who won him by 17 points. That's nearly a 30-point switcheroo. So this, in my mind, is fueling these potential pickup opportunities for Republicans. As I said at the beginning of this, Republicans are playing hardball. It's going to be interesting to see if Democrats can actually answer this, or they're going to be stuck in the Little Leagues.
One thing we are watching is if Donald Trump maintains his support among Latino voters, but that is to come.
That will be to come. It will be answered soon enough.
Harry Enton, thank you.
Yeah, again, that's a big if, and that's what makes his strategy risky, and why I think Democrats boo-hoo, whine, and cry and talk about his rigged is just kind of silly to me because, you know, ultimately, if Democrats are correct in the sense that, well, this big, beautiful bill is so terrible, it's so bad, right? If they're right about that, if they're right about Latinos being upset with the mass deportations, then honestly, this could backfire. It could backfire on the Republicans, okay? And it could end up in favor of the Democrats, right? If what they say is true. The fact that they're panicking so bad over this tells me that their gut feeling is that what they say is probably not true, right? In the sense that the mass deportations are probably not hurting Trump that much with Latinos, especially you talking about in a state like Texas that has plenty of conservative-leaning Latino voters. Okay, this is why they can remain a red state, even though they have a large Hispanic population, just like Florida. A lot of these Latinos just happen to lean right, okay, instead of far left. And because of that, there's opportunity, but there's also risk, okay? So this is why I think that it could possibly be a bad move for Democrats to retaliate by trying to redistrict their states in which they would have to essentially overthrow democracy within their own state, like, for example, California, in order to counter the Republicans. It might not be necessary at all if what they believe is true. But let's go ahead and learn a little bit more about what Democrats are plotting in response.
I think it's pretty farcical for Hakeem Jeffries to say that he just wants things to be fair. What he wants is to be speaker, and he's willing to take any measures that he sees as facilitating that goal. What we have playing out in California is we already have an independent, nonpartisan redistricting commission that was established by voters through a democratic process. And now the governor of the state, Gavin Newsom, is talking about trying to override the will of voters and abolish that commission and replace its maps with those drawn by himself and the supermajority legislature. And what they're talking about, by the way, is trying to wipe out 6 of the 9 seats that Republicans currently have in Congress. So what would that mean? It would mean that California's congressional representation would be 3 Republicans and 49 Democrats. So we'd have fewer than 6% of the congressional seats, even though Republicans get over 40% of the vote in statewide elections. I'm not sure that sounds very fair to me, to use Leader Jeffries' term.
Well, let's talk more about Hakeem Jeffries there, Congressman. He says what they're going to do is fair. What the GOP is going to do, especially in Texas, is only at the bidding of President Trump.
Well, look, to be honest, I don't love what's going on in Texas either, but it is very different than what's happening in California, because California has an independent commission that has been set up by voters. And so for the governor to say that he's going to ignore that or try to override it or circumvent it, that is directly defying the will of California voters, who have said by an overwhelming majority that they want this process to be nonpartisan, that voters ought to pick politicians. It shouldn't be the other way around, with politicians picking their voters. But what's more, even if you look at the most aggressive plan that's being put forward in California, in Texas, that would still leave the Democrats with about a quarter of the seats over there. Whereas what they're proposing in California is to reduce the representation of Republicans to 6% in a state that is already a one-party state, with the Democrats having a super-duper majority in the legislature, holding the governor's office and every other statewide office. So it would be eliminating any semblance whatsoever of checks and balances in our state.
Yeah, I mean, Newsom would be overthrowing democracy, right? Ironically, okay? He'd be doing exactly what Democrats claim they're against. We're against overthrowing democracy, except when it benefits the Democrats, right? And when they want power and control, when they don't want to give their voters an option to exercise the quote-unquote democracy that they love so much, right? Democrats hate actual democracy, okay? This is why they project so badly, right? This is why they always talk about our democracy, protect our democracy. They're projecting. They hate democracy, okay? Anytime Democrat voters actually have a chance of doing something that Democrats don't want them to do, Democrats step in and they rig it, right? This is what they do during their primaries. Okay, this is what they're doing now, okay, when it comes to trying to gerrymander their blue states. Again, independent commission voted on by the actual residents of California. They say we want this to be an independent process. An independent process is already still rigged, right? Because, I mean, let's be real. Republicans are not fairly represented in that state. Still rigged, but hey, let's rig it even more, right? Let's rig it even more. Okay, and then they want to point the finger at everybody else at the other side of the country, right? At other people in the country and say, well, you guys are threats to democracy, right? You guys are rigging your elections. When look at what they're doing in their states. So Democrats have no room to talk on this. They can boo-hoo, whine, and cry all they want, but they better be very careful. They better be very careful in regards to how they respond, because it's not guaranteed that Republicans are going to come out on top when it comes to the redistricting. And they're probably better off going with a safe option and just, not overriding democracy in their states in order to retaliate. But if they want to play the game, then, hey, go for it, right? Go for it. I just don't know if it's going to work out in their favor. But let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.